Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna 129L string trimmer. The customer complaint is that it doesn't run very good. Well, as you're going to see here in a little bit, I couldn't even get it to start. So we're taking a look inside the fuel tank and seeing what he's burning. And it doesn't smell like old fuel. So we're just going to quick move on and make sure that everything looks good inside the cylinder. Removing the spark plug. I didn't even look at the plug. I'm just more interested in the condition of the cylinder. Because if it's scored or scratched up really bad, I'm just going to quit right here. But it looked alright. We're threading the plug back in. And all I'm really doing is some preliminary checks before I try and start it myself. I want to experience what the customer was experiencing. So it seems to prime up okay. We'll pull the choke. It's got a spring-loaded start switch, so it's always in the start position. I mean, there you go. It didn't run. So what I want to do is I want to take a look at the spark plug and inside the cylinder again. Now all them pulls I made on full choke, this should be soaking wet inside here. And it's not. It's dry. Spark plug's dry and the inside of the cylinder is dry. So what are the possible reasons for fuel not making its way into the cylinder? Well, no fuel in the tank, plugged fuel filter, carburetor problem, plugged spark arrestor screen. If air can't move through the engine, it's not going to pull fuel in. But there's another reason, and I discover it right away. The carburetor is loose. Now, if you look really close, you can see that the carburetor is bolted tight to the manifold, but the manifold, or insulator block, is loose on the cylinder. If the piston's moving downward and supposed to be drawing air in through the carburetor, but that air just leaks past a gap in the intake manifold, well, it's never going to pull fuel in. If we take a look right here, you can see that that manifold is loose, that insulator block. Now, certainly, we could just tighten this thing down, but I don't know how long it's been loose, and I don't know what the gasket might look like. I mean, if the gasket busted up and there's a chunk missing and we just tighten that manifold, I keep saying manifold, but it's an insulator block. If we just tighten it down with a chunk of gasket missing or displaced or broken, we might still have an air leak there. So I want to remove that insulator. And it is an insulator. It's made out of plastic. It keeps the heat from transferring from the cylinder to the carburetor. We want to make sure the gasket's good on the back of that. So there's 4 screws in this case. Get these buzzed out of here. And take a close look at the way this thing is mounted in here, because it's tucked in behind that orange plastic. So what do we find? We find that the gasket is intact. And there's some evidence of some, leakage there and a little bit of fuel moisture around it. But we could have gotten away with just tightening this thing down. course, we would have never known, and every time that it didn't run exactly right, we would have been suspect of that gasket. So I'm just going to clean it up a little bit and put it back together. I don't have this gasket in stock anyway. And the other part of this repair is that it's one of those, what do I want to say? It's a low budget repair. I'm trying to keep the cost down for this one. So let's get these screws ran back home. If this is all it needs, this is going to be a sweet little repair. We'll get them torqued down by hand. I don't have any torque specs for you. I don't think Husky even offers a workshop manual for this trimmer.
Scott, lane 1, please. Scott, lane 1.
Alright, we're about 6 minutes into the video, and I wanted to stop here, take an intermission, and talk about a few things. First of all, I realized that some of you are probably asking why I didn't check for spark. Well, when I pulled that cord 10 or 12 times, it popped a few times. So I know I have spark, and I was thinking maybe the cylinder was flooded or something else might be going on. So there really didn't seem to be a good reason to lay the spark plug on the cylinder and watch it spark when I already heard it pop while I was trying to start the engine. So that's why I didn't do that. The next thing I realized during editing was that I said something that was incorrect. I may have said a lot of things that were incorrect, but I only caught one of them. And if you can figure out or be the first person to tell me what that incorrect statement was, then I'm going to send you one of my carburetor stands. All right, if you watch this channel, you know what this is. You set it on the bench. You can put a carburetor on it and do your work on it, right? It's kind of handy. It keeps the carburetor out of the dirt. You know, there's a magnet on the back. You can hang the stand on your toolbox, or you can put the screws on the magnet, whatever. You know, this is just a piece of angle iron and a couple of 1/8-inch rods. You can certainly make one yourself. I built them because some people are asking about them, and some people wanted a way to support the channel. So there you have it. If you're in the United States and you're the first person to correctly tell me what I said wrong in this previous 6 minutes, then I'll send you one of these. If you're not in the United States, sorry, I'm not going to ship international. And by the way, this is a magnetic decal. This can come off here. I'm pretty sure gasoline and brake clean and carb clean are going to eat this up. So I put it on there because it looks nice, but you can stick it on your toolbox. You can throw it in the garbage. I don't care. So the last thing I want to talk about is video editing. We don't talk about this, the YouTube creator kind of aspect. I'm working in a shop, and there's 5 other mechanics in this room that I'm in. There is a welding booth in there, and there's an open garage door behind me with landscape material, bins, stone, and mulch, and loaders loading people all the time. It's noisy, and I do my best to edit out all that background noise. You know, on the other side of the shop, I'm going to have those Neanderthal knuckle dragging, dirty, disgusting 4-stroke mechanics that work on them engines that swim in their own filth. You know, they're making a bunch of noise. And in fact, when we get out of this intermission, I'm going to let the background noise ride for a while before I edit it out. And then you can kind of see why the videos sound the way they do, and why sometimes there's some blank spots in the audio, and why sometimes I've added music to fill in those blank spots in the past. So let's get back to it. If you're the first person in the United States to figure out what I said wrong, then I'll ship you a carburetor stand. So, as often happens, I got sidetracked. When I came back to the project, I didn't remember where I had left off. So those screws were already tight. Let's put this starter back on here. I find that pulling on the rope gets the starter lined up with the starter pawls, and things go back together a little easier that way. Now remember, we're going into plastic with these screws. A lot of people would say don't use a power tool for this job. This particular impact or bit driver has a clutch on it, so I've had pretty good luck not stripping screws if I got the clutch set at the right setting. And there's, let's see, 3 fine head. Boy, stepping on my tongue here. There's 3 fine head. There's 3 fine thread screws around the starter, and the rest of the screws are coarse thread because they go into plastic, but the starter ones go into the crankcase. And it looks like we got them all tightened up now. Now our carburetor can go back on. This was kind of nice because the throttle cable, the choke lever, all of that is kind of built into that air filter holder, and nothing really came apart when we unbolted it. There's 2 bolts that run through the carburetor, and there's one other bolt on top that just kind of locates that air filter holder. Let's fire this thing up and see what we got. And if it runs, then that's all I'm going to have for you on the Husqvarna 129L string trimmer that had a loose intake insulator block. Thanks for watching. Later.